wave climate on the Gold Coast is highly variable. I mean, it changes from day to day right through to decadal changes. And what we've seen historically is going through periods of 20 to 30 year cycles where we might have a period of really intense wave action and then periods of relative calm.
The greatest crisis Surfers Paradise has ever faced was in June 1967, as raging seas and cyclonic winds scoured away the beaches only metres from the soaring high-rise buildings.
Things were a lot more active in the 1960s and 70s than they had been since then. In 1967 in particular, there was a series of east coast lows and severe tropical cyclones which impacted the coast. So the beaches, particularly to the south end of the Gold Coast, but all the way along, all were severely eroded. They just didn't have a chance to recover between storm events.
There are some really big cycles that we are dealing with, and these are driven by major climatic systems in the Pacific Ocean. There's a thing called the interdecadal Pacific Oscillation, which basically drives this longer period cycle.
Impacts on wave climate include things like El Nino and La Nina, which can affect the number of tropical cyclones that might happen in a given year. It can affect where they're more likely to form, how close to the coast and how far north or south.
And as a result, changes in sand and movement on our beaches.
During the winter months, the dominant swell direction on the coast is still from the southeast. However, the Gold Coast tends to experience an increase in southerly ground swells. These are due to intense low pressure systems forming beneath Australia and the Tasman Sea. These weather systems can produce quite large high period waves, but due to their southerly nature means that a lot of the Gold Coast is sheltered due to the easterly protrusion of Byron and Snapper Rocks down here. During these periods, you can sometimes see the swell marching up the coast, and you can stand on the beach and it can be tiny inshore, but the waves are just moving northward.
But of course, when a cyclone is brewing or when we move into a different climatic cycle, we start to see a more easterly direction or a northeasterly direction of wave action generated perhaps by tropical cyclones, which are moving down the Queensland coastline.
We can get east coast lows in succession. I think 2006 we had about 6 formed off of Sydney, Byron Bay area. If you've got sand in abundance moving up the coast and not too many big storms, then we should have nice wide beaches. But when we get back-to-back storm events and subtle shifts in the longer term wave direction, then problem areas can pop up. Those areas will then be the focus of attention when we start to see damage to infrastructure. So depending on which way a particular beach is facing, it'll affect the height of the waves on that part of the coast. The southern Gold Coast beaches are protected from south swell, and the northern Gold Coast beaches are more exposed to south swell.
The state government, through the Department of Science, Information Technology, Innovation and the Arts, maintains a network of 14 wave buoys along the Queensland coast. It's essentially a round sphere which is loaded with batteries and then has a chain and an elastic mooring to an anchor on the seabed. We have got a buoy here at Tweed. The buoy is in about 23 metres of water just off Cook Island. So that wave buoy sits and floats on top of the water, and through an accelerometer or GPS system, it can measure both the wave height, wave direction and the wave period. That data is then transmitted through an aerial antenna by RF radar to a shore-based receiver, and then that shore-based receiver takes that data and sends it through to our servers, which we then process for quality assurance and then put up onto the web.
Yeah, so with all the variability going on with wave energy, the direction of the waves, the amount of sand on the beach and the amount of sand moving along the beach, it's It's not likely that the beach is ever going to be the same 2 days in a row as far as the surf conditions go.
Now's the time to cut to the chase and through the Ocean Beaches strategy and the surf management plan to have in place a template for the future to make sure that people have a great beach experience here on the Gold Coast.